to an all-new Animal Behavior Chats. My name is Neil Hutchins-Resto, aka The Treat Fairy. I am here with the most fabulous Miss Danielle Beck, and we are back with Miss Morag Ayers from Welcome to Home. We are really excited to bring today's episode. Well, I am, because it's scent work, and scent work is one of my happy moments. So thank you for joining us back again, Morag, this week. For those of you who don't know, Miss Danielle Beck and I admin a group on Facebook called Positive Pet Advice, where we try to answer all your comments, questions, concerns, and give you our overall professional opinion. So go ahead and hashtag that geeky dog trainer, and if you aren't yet, go up and join the group and all of your comments and everything else, and you can follow up with Miss Morag. Do we have a link up?
I am just putting it up now. You sound tired today, sweetheart.
So smooth.
Very smooth.
Like we've done it before.
Yeah.
A few times.
You sound tired, sweetheart.
I sound tired?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit?
It's okay. Life happens. We're live.
I'm, what is the word?
Knackered.
Knackered would be something completely different.
Yeah.
I don't mind knocking my boots.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Totally what that means. So I'm going to introduce the lovely Morag, who's with us just now. And we did a little bit on deaf dogs last week, but it was a little bit rushed. So if anyone has any questions from last week about deaf dogs, feel free to add it to the chat. That are going around everywhere at the minute. Hi, Nate. Nate's back again. He's eating Ferrero Rocher, apparently. Oh, I really like Ferrero Rocher.
I don't think that's fair. I don't think people get to tell us what they're eating unless they're willing to send us like a little care parcel in the post.
Yeah, send us care packages.
So let's just say that, because
we'll review
really
chocolate.
Like it. Send us all for a Rocher.
Yeah, that'll be
See?
awesome.
Throwing it out there.
Yeah. So if anyone has any deaf dog questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, and we'll ask Morgan if she can answer them here now. But one thing that we covered last week on deaf dogs was how much they will utilize their nose, because they're down a sense, so they've got the other two senses. The dogs that are deaf and blind as well will utilize their nose even more. And scent work is something that I've always kind of dabbled in with dogs because it fascinated me. I didn't get into it properly until Talking Dog Scent Work came along. And I did my scent one with Helen Greenlee. And I have got so many mice in tins. It is unreal. And I am addicted to this thing because it is just, the dogs love it. And it can be relatively boring for handlers, I guess, when they first start, because you're just putting things in a box or you're like repeating the same sort of thing. But the dogs love it. And when you really kind of start to understand how to kind of set up your searches and what to actually do, that it's so fascinating to see what your dog can do.
So
And I did some tracking and stuff.
For everyone that doesn't know, what's Talking Dog Scent Work? Because remember, I'm not
Absolutely.
we have different programs.
I'm hoping Morgan can fill us in all about that.
So scent work is kind of a generic term, which means usually some kind of canine activity where the dog is using their nose to detect a specific scent or indicate on a specific scent. It's more commonly called nose work in the States. It was, to be honest, Pam McKinnon, who created Talking Dog Scent Work, was one of the first people in the UK and Europe to use the term scent work, but it's now used more generically. So I guess one thing to be aware is, as with any kind of scheme, program, or whatever, just because it has the same name doesn't mean that people are doing the same thing within it. And that's why Danny and I both kind of refer to it. We specifically say when we're talking about this, we're talking about TD scent work, Talking Dog Scent Work.
Yeah.
Simply because otherwise you get into all kinds of complicated conversations, and then it turns out, they're using a completely different protocol.
Yeah,
That's why we're talking at cross purposes, or they don't understand why we're talking about cute furry mice, which I will show you in a tiny second when I grab one.
Yeah.
So the kind of scent work that I do is I'm an accredited trainer with Pam McKinnon and Talking Dogs. So that means I spent about 2.5 years taking all the workshops multiple times with my own dogs, assisting, basically stalking Pam, doing presentations, taking tests with her until she felt that she trusted me to be able to pass on the essence of what she's doing without tweaking it and making it up as I go along. And those years of experience are actually really important, because the good thing about scent work is you can get started immediately. Scent work or nose work. And the basic steps are usually fairly straightforward in any system. The downside is you can feel like you totally know what you're doing, which you do, until it doesn't work, goes wrong, your dog gets stuck, or you make things too hard from them. And you then don't necessarily understand enough about what you've done to be able to fix the problems or support your dog. And that, I think, is where it's important to find a trainer in whatever system you use who really has years of experience with many different breeds, rather than they did a weekend course or a one-day course and went, well, hey, I'm a trainer. Because if that's it, and in the, you know, for some people that caps off all their practical experience, but for others that's kind of like their first introduction is like a weekend. Well, there is genuinely nothing that we're going to learn in a weekend that makes you expert enough, I don't think, to then really train. And I'm saying that thinking someone is going to comment and say, no, there's this one thing you can do it. And there probably is. I'm going to stick my neck out and say, I don't think there's very many things. I
would agree with you. I would go out on a limb and say, I don't think there's any professional field where you can learn enough in a weekend to be competent at that.
But let's see what responses we get to that. That's kind of been my experience, but you never know. So TD Scent Work was based on Pam's original job as a customs and excise dog handler many years ago in the UK. She was one of the youngest professional dog handlers. Did that, has many entertaining stories. If you ever get the chance to go for dinner with Pam, you totally should, because you get all the backstories of what it's like being customs and excise dog handler, and being invited for dinner with the captain at the captain's table on his suspicious Russian freight ship, you know, and all the kind of, it's pretty cool. I shan't reveal her secrets. But basically, eventually it occurred to Pam that while she'd moved out of that, she was working within rescue with Wood Green and a couple of other places as a behaviourist and as a trainer, that she was seeing a lot of underemployed dogs, a lot of dogs who were frustrated, often teenage, mouthy grabby, at the stage where they're blowing off their owners and saying, I really don't give a damn what you're saying, you're not useful to me, you're not good fun. But these dogs are not drivey enough, however you want to define that, to actually make good working dogs. So the ones who are going completely nutso in the kennels or the house might get pulled out by the police, they might get used as sniffer dogs, they might end up working for the army. You're still left with like 2/3 of that group. We're still going nuts, we're still really hard to live with, we're maybe not very enjoyable to have as companions, but they're not going to cut it as a working dog. So you need to give them a job, but it needs to be a job that's taught in a way that's genuinely accessible to normal pet dogs. And to be absolutely blunt about it, the average handlers can manage to do effectively, because equally a lot of the techniques that we might use, you know, even if they're positive based, if we're using them for really high performance dogs, it takes superlative handling and timing and reward delivery. And the bottom line is that if you just train your dog for fun once a week, you haven't had the hours of mechanical practice, you know, to develop all those skills. So what's the point in teaching you a system that you're just going to fuck up? So instead, what Pam did was took what she'd learned to do as a professional handler, her experience as a regular trainer and behaviorist in a sense, and kind of went, okay, how do I make these two worlds meet? And the result of that is Talking Dog Scent Work. I'm only showing it because it's a really pretty picture and it shows you the lovely color. I liked purple before I got involved, but it helps that I'm also now branded for Talking Dog Scent.
You are branded really well.
And it's basically a scheme that takes dogs from, okay, all dogs generally like to sniff. That doesn't mean they sniff when you want them to. It doesn't mean they sniff for the thing you want them to. And it'll take them all the way from that through to searching for 30 to 45 minutes solid for a very small find that's buried within multiple layers of wrapping or hidden deep within somebody's car or something like that. So that's where we're taking pet dogs to over the course of a few workshops and obviously some practice at home. And I get very excited about it. Sorry.
There's nothing wrong with passion. We love passion. That's why I wanted you to come on. Because scent work's one of those things when you start to explain it to owners, in my experience, especially in consults, because I use scent work a lot with the dogs that I deal with, they're usually very problem dogs, usually very anxious. Some have aggression issues or have troubles with the world in general. And scent work is one of the things that I found is just able to just build up a dog's confidence.
Yeah,
Make
absolutely.
them more able to kind of rely on themselves and be independent. And it tires them out, as a lot of people seem to enjoy that side of things. But it's the stimulation. It's them being able to kind of go, oh, I can do this. Or, oh,
Yeah.
you've got those mice. Or, oh, that's the word that means I'm looking for this.
Yeah.
And then they start to look forward to their handler. And when they could team up and the handler can actually direct them to like the
Yeah.
searches and things, you can see the bond just improve. And the dog's like, I found it. The handler's like, oh my God, you did find it. And it's wonderful. And it's so passionate. And that's what I love about the talking dog scent word thing, is that the focus, a lot of it is on making sure that everyone's happy. You know, and that the dogs are having fun. And that's what I like about the passive indication. Is
Active indication.
Is it
Active. So it's probably worth saying.
I was
so
like, you
there's
need to define the two for me, because one of them the dogs doesn't enjoy it quite as much, in my opinion, because they have to do stuff.
So it basically so the terms are used different. Again, the terms are used differently in different schools of scent work. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Always check the definition for your particular activity. Within the UK, generally, what an active indication means is the dog makes an effort to access the find themselves.
Yeah,
rather than passive, which would be sit and stare, stand and stare.
That's it.
If you're a search dog, then you do this weird, so if you're like a search and rescue dog, you do this weird combination where you actively search, you find the human, and then you run back to the handler and you bark at them. Yeah. And then the dog will run backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards in an attempt to drag their handler increasingly quickly up the hill to find wherever they found the body. Yeah. Body doesn't mean dead person. Body means the casualty that we put out on the hill, just for clarity.
No, look at that.
For any panics about what the hell I'm talking about here. The thing with passive fundamentally is that if you're asking the dog to learn a target scent, you're asking them to learn a behavior which is cued by the presence of that scent. Yeah. And only after they've got those two things linked can you start teaching them to search. So it's a longer process in terms of getting it set up. And sometimes when you have a dog with very little concentration, so I use it a lot with the rescue dogs that I work with, you know, when they're in kennels, we don't have time to do that. We need something that has very quick effects and is very easily accessible. The other thing is that with passive, it gets complicated because it's reliant on you then delivering the reward. Again, coming this idea of we want it to work for all levels of handling. Yeah. If it's active and the dog is searching for a thing they want to play with, or they're searching for a thing they want to eat, it doesn't really matter if your handler is slightly behind the game, because the dog did the right thing and got their reward immediately. And that lack of delay is part of what makes it a great confidence building activity for the nervous dogs, or the ones who might otherwise, if you were doing passive, and I've seen this, they'll go, oh, the thing I'm looking for, the scent, it's there. Oh, you do it. I can't possibly go in there. You go and do it. Yeah. Now, if you've got a dog where what you're trying to do is build their confidence, how much more sense does it make, to me at least, that instead you can go, oh, wow, is it there? Okay, you're telling me, fabulous. I am going to cheer you on. You get it. You can get it. And actually you see the dog, oh, well, like really? I have to put my paw in the box? Yeah, that's all. Oh my God, I did it on my own. Yeah. And I love that, especially when you've got like a slightly nervous dog and you've got something that's hidden like in a tunnel. Yeah. And you can see them kind of going, it's in there. And you're like, have you found something? And like they're like, yeah, I have, but oh my God. Come on, go and get it. Yes, Nate, we will be answering your questions. Just give us a little minute. We've got a few questions coming through. Oh, good. So, excellent. Yeah, can I just grab a mouse so I can show people what the cute mice look like? Yes, please do.
So while she's walking away, I think it's really important for everyone to understand too that if you're learning from someone that's not maybe a TD scent work trainer, there are a few different questions you can ask them about their training process. How do they introduce the training process? I myself, I'm a food motivator, okay? So I'll put the food in the box. However, you guys are going to explain something here that's a little bit different, and I've actually read through the manual too, so I'm kind of excited to see how you guys let's do this.
Yeah, that's what I like about the talking dog scent work, is that you can choose food or toys.
Right. Well,
there's no
actually,
right or wrong way.
I'm going to correct you very your dog chooses food or toys.
Well, that's true, yeah.
But that's really important because we do get people who come and they're absolutely determined that their dog must search for X, Y, or Z. And the bottom line is, we want your dog not to learn to do a thing because it makes you happy, which is what a lot of our training can end up being about, even if we don't mean it to. We want your dog to basically have the courage to go, do you know what? This is what I like doing. It'd be really awesome if you made the effort to learn how to do it with me.
Yeah.
So we're really turning that perspective around. So the very first thing that you do on Ascent 1 is you find out what your dog really, really wants. Would they rather have food, or are they so motivated by the chance to play that they're going to be able to play in front of people and dogs in a distracting environment? And the play can be whatever is play for you guys. So it might be you throw the toy and the dog pounces on it. It might be that they steal it and they do like a parade of honor, which a lot of spaniels seem to like doing. They show you it and they have to show everyone in the room. Or it might be that you play like a more traditional game of, you know, kind of tug. Or it might be you throw it and they catch it, all of which is play, but it's about interacting with the thing that the dog will be finding. Or if it's food, they're eating the thing that they're finding. There's no gap, there's no delay in the reward, there's no secondary motivation. No. We're going for the absolute straightforward, you play with it or you eat it. Those are your choices. And if you're going to eat it, generally we're using cheese. Mild, boring, bland, cheap as chips, cheddar cheese. Which might be called something different in the States, because I understand cheese works differently over there.
Yeah. So,
but and the thing with cheese, it's acceptable for the majority of dogs, but most importantly, you can stick it to stuff.
And it's squishy.
Yeah, you mold it like plasticine and you stick it to things.
So I've got a couple of questions about, one's about a rescue dog. So if you rehome a dog that was previously a working dog, such as police, airport assistance dog, do they need the training kept up, or can you let them retire with less of the protocol?
I think it's going to really depend what stage they're at when they're being rehomed. So if they're being rehomed because they're being retired because they're no longer efficient or effective, then it might not be that you want to teach the new owners how to do all the old stuff so much as you say, to be honest, they're not going to enjoy doing the same level of stuff anymore, but you're going to need an activity to direct their interest and their energy. If you see what I mean, because the level of work that they've been used to doing and potentially what they've been searching for. So if they've been searching for drugs in the nicest possible way, you are not going to rehome them with a little home detection kit with drug sample, but you're not though, are you?
No, you know.
So actually it would make sense in my head that a dog like that is going to need more outlets anyway. If one of those outlets is going to be scent work, then you might be as well to teach them to find something which is socially acceptable and safely obtained.
Yeah, like catnip.
Rather than trying to mimic what they've been doing at the airport.
Yeah. So let's just ask, does the dog's nose work in the same way as a human's nose?
Short answer, sort of.
Sort of, kind of.
Well, it's true though. Longer answer, in the sense that it's so much better than ours, it hurts. I'm not even, so yes, technically it works in the same way, but the level of information that they get is so astoundingly detailed that it makes me feel a bit like it's not really a fair comparison. I don't really think of my nose as being the same as my dog's. Theirs is way better.
Because the anatomy is slightly different as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same basic principles, but you have different organs in the dog's nose, and they do different things with it. The best thing to do is to look up is it Alexandra Horowitz? She did a really nice animated explanation of how smell works in a dog's nose. If we can give people a link to that, I don't have it on me at the moment. Thank you. Alexandra Horowitz. I think it's How a Dog Smells or something like that. But it's really detailed and it will give you a much more accurate explanation than I could give just now without any diagrams.
Yeah.
Probably worth saying as well that part of what we're doing that's sometimes is a little tricky for owners to grasp right at the beginning is we are asking the dogs to find a specific scent. So a lot of people will have done kind of generic find it games with food or with the dog's tennis balls or with something else. But what you're asking the dog to find is maybe, 3 different kinds of kibble, a piece of sausage and, cheese. But that's not very specific for that word, or you're asking them to find a tennis ball which also smells of you, which also smells of them, and probably they're slightly dried on slobber.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to ask is for people that wanted to kind of give it a go at home, so to speak. It's like, first of all, get the book because it explains a lot of this in.
Buy the book. The other thing would be to go to the scentwork.com website and go and download Scent One, the DVD from Vimeo, or buy the DVD if you prefer the DVD, if you even have a DVD player, since apparently most laptops now don't have one.
They don't have a DVD drive.
But you can stream it because you can get started at home just using the book or just based on what we might talk about today.
Yeah.
But it's way better and more satisfying if you actually understand why you're doing what you're doing and what you're doing.
Yeah.
But pretty much you're taking that distinctive cue, pairing it with a thing or cheese, and getting the dog to search for it.
Yeah. How do you make sure that the dogs... Go on.
You can't download it now, but you can buy the Parker videos from the National Association of Canine Scent Work, and they actually go through the entire process. It was basically one lady who put together all of the videos per dog from the beginning to the end, how they trained it through, how they added distractions, how they did everything. It's a couple hours long, but watch it.
You can.
It's really decent, and it goes over quite a bit of the mechanics for anyone that wants to do it at home. There's also a few different books, and I can go ahead and link a few of those different versions too.
You can also get the Scentwork manual from dogwise.com, and I believe they also stock the DVDs.
Really good.
Cool.
Sorry, Danny, I think you were asking a question. I kept talking over you. Just tell me to
It's
shut
fine.
up.
I was just wondering how much of an emphasis you put on making sure that the scent is always the same. So you don't get like the human handler scent makes up too much. The dog's aware of what scent they're actually looking for rather than mixing it up. Or does that not matter too much with the way that you do it?
I would say it matters hugely, because what you're really talking about is contamination.
Yeah.
And the reason it matters now is because it will matter more when you make it harder and your dog is searching for smaller amounts.
Yeah.
Because then if things go wrong, you need to think about, is it because I contaminated my items? Is it because I'm searching in the same area I always search in? So actually the whole place reeks of my target scent.
Yeah.
That's why my dog is struggling. Or what it is. So if they're searching for value mild brand cheddar, then that's what they're always searching for. You can add other scents in, but we would always suggest to people that, so from a TD scent work point of view, you would want to have done at least scent 1 to scent 5 so that you're solid, your handling skills are absolutely brilliant, and your dog has definitely nailed the process, so that then if you add an extra scent in, you're building on those solid foundations, which is really the same as we would do with a drugs dog. So if you're starting a drugs dog off, you don't introduce them to speed, heroin, cocaine, and whatever the latest legal high is, all at once. You do it on one drug. You get your basic skills in place, and then you start adding in more.
Yeah.
But so, for example, these little cuties, little furry micey things, would, if we're a toy dog, would get scented up with, usually we would use dried catnip.
Yeah.
There's no catnip on it, and the reason that we use catnip is, and this is where I'll probably get controversial stuff, which is fine, is that fundamentally it's obvious, it's strong and distinctive, it's safe, it has no inherent properties that are likely to affect dogs. It does not have the same effect on dogs as it does on cats, thank goodness. But in comparison, and it comes in a dried format, which makes it really easy to use to scent stuff without ending up with bits of catnip clinging to it, or if it was an oil, the concern is the dog may then be consuming it. Unlike things like birch or anise or clove or things like that, because they're pretty bitter. And actually for a lot of dogs, they're inherently a little bit unpleasant. And sure, you can overcome that, or you can be super awesome and get your puppy breeder to have introduced it to your puppies before you've even, before you even left the litter or whatever. But our principle and Pam's principle was really, why make it harder for yourself than you need to? Why not make it something which is super safe? It's not an essential oil, which is quite important. It's actually going to be safer because of that. And it's at its basic, it's neutral to dogs. They're like, why is this even of interest to me? Rather than, ew, really? You want me to put that in my mouth? I don't think so. So it's really about making the process simple.
That's another, there's another topic for us, is that that you're searching for, different types of oils,
Absolutely.
different types of things. Ask your trainer. Find out, what are we going to be searching for?
Yeah.
What happens when the dog gets it right? What happens when the dog gets it wrong? All of these different questions are things that you should really ask. So it's important that we know different variations of the programs, so that way
Yep.
we can understand, is it just for game purposes? Is it potentially for some competition purposes? Is it for some working performance purposes later on? Is it maybe for some scent detection, where I go into some allergy detections with service dogs?
Yep.
It's really important that we understand where and how is it going to be trained.
And also if it's going to potentially interfere. So I know one of the things, we've had quite a few people start in TD scent work with us who've gone on to do search and rescue with mountain rescue and lowland rescue teams. And that is obviously not using an active indication where you drag the person back or anything daft like that. But the thing is, because in TD scent work, we are very strict in the sense of we're asking people to use a specific harness, use a specific cue word, make it clear to the dog when they're searching for this target scent. If you then want to go ahead and teach them to do a different kind of scent work, it's fine. You just change those predictor cues because you've set it up consistently. So you can have a dog that does a passive on something else, but may have started and built their confidence up doing an active in this particular style.
Okay.
But yeah, absolutely ask and check if it has any health implications, because with some of the essential oils, we don't want to be using them with dogs that have epilepsy.
Right.
Because what you don't want is the dog going off freestyle when you're not at home, getting into your training cupboard.
Exactly. Well,
It's pick and choose.
I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but unfortunately,
Neil, they're struggling to hear you.
I'm going to try and make this a little bit better for you guys as we go ahead and close out this little conversation, because I have to end it. Do we want to jump back in?
We can. Oh, that's up to Morag. If you want to hear more about scent work, we're happy to bring Morag back. But people are struggling to hear you, Neil.
People are struggling to hear me. That's time's up. Unfortunately, I have to go. Can you
That's
close
okay.
it out?
Of course, sweetheart, we'll let you go.
All right. So
And you
if
can
you
get a-
haven't yet, go ahead and hashtag that geeky dog trainer. Thank you ever always, Miss Morag, for coming and talking to us about scent work. And hopefully we can have you back for a part 2 sometime soon. For all of you who don't know, my name is Neil Hutchins Resto, aka the Treat Fairy.
So, short and sweet again. I love it when people get passionate because half an hour goes so quickly.
Yes, it really does.
But if you don't know much about scent work, check out Talking Dog Scent Work. Have a look at the books. Feel free to talk about it in the Policy Pet Advice. We're all there. We'll quite happily talk to you and give you some advice about that. Hi, Nate. I'll give you a shout out. Yeah, hopefully we'll get Morag back at some point if Morag would like to come back and talk more about scent work, and we can maybe go into a bit more details into how to actually do it for anyone that wants. So if you want some more specific information about scent work, send me a message, write some down in the comments below, and hopefully we can come back and we can tailor it to how you want. This is your show, so we're quite happy to tailor it how you like. But thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, comment below. And
Very out.